All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited. Really excited to have everybody here, especially hidden hero, veteran caregiver Laura Gary, and Karina Kroll, who'll be on here momentarily. We'll give a couple more minutes before we start. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday, Christmas week. Hope everybody's having a nice, safe, and exciting holiday season, and I'm gonna hope everybody has an amazing Christmas or Hanukkah or any celebrations that you may celebrate. It's awesome. All right. I can see like everything in the background over here. It's Christmas. It's Christmas themed, so really just excited to be in the holiday mood. As I know everybody else is for the holidays. Really, really fun time. But all right, I think we can get started. But yeah, I want to thank everybody again for coming. Really excited, like I said, to have Laura Gary and Karina Kroll on here today to discuss the importance of respite, as well as the day in the life of being a veteran family caregiver. I first want to introduce my coworker and really great friend, Karina Kroll. And I'm going to bring her up onto the screen right now. Just give me one moment. Here she is. Karina and I have been planning this really well, so we're really excited about this. Hey, Karina.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being on the cast.
You're welcome. Anything for you.
Honestly, thank you. Thank you very much. But no, I was just telling our viewers just kind of to lay down what's going on today. But why don't you tell us just a little about yourself, kind of what you do at CareLinx?
So I am an implementation manager at CareLinx. I have been here for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years at the first of the year. And part of my job is to operationalize programs that are coming in and operationalize partnerships that are coming into us. And the Respite Relief Program is one that I worked on with the wonderful folks at the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Just shout out to Rashi and Molly and Bailey and Austin and everyone on the team. We also worked really close with our colleagues at the VA, Susie, Shirley, and others that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head right now, but it was a team effort that brought this program to fruition, and really happy to be a part of it.
Awesome. And I know we have our really special guest coming on. And Karina, if you'd like to introduce her, that'd be awesome.
Thanks. So I want to introduce Laura and Tom Gary. Laura is actually an Elizabeth Dole Foundation Fellow, and she's a recipient of the Respite Relief Program. And her and her husband, Tom, have really graciously agreed to be part of this webcast to share their story and their journey. And Laura in particular, I'm just really happy and thankful that she's willing to speak about her role as a family caregiver and how COVID has impacted their lives, along with being a recipient of the Respite Relief Program. Just wanted to share her story and her journey with others.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Karina. And without further ado, invite Laura on the screen here. Just give it a couple moments. And yep, she's coming on screen. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
We're good.
Thank you so much for being on the cast today.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad we get to talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are so grateful to you and Tom for taking time out, especially during the busy holiday season. I know you're busy on a daily basis, just baseline, but adding all the holiday and everything else on top of it. So really grateful for your time.
No, not a problem. This was a good excuse to get a shower. As a caregiver, sometimes that's a hard thing to get.
Excellent. Well, you look wonderful.
Thank you.
So just wanted to, we're just going to recap a little bit about what respite relief is and how it got started, and then just want to jump into your particular journey and how you came to be connected with this program. For those that are not familiar with the program, the Respite Relief for Military and Veteran Family Caregivers is a program that was brought to fruition by the efforts of Elizabeth Dole Foundation and our partners at the VA. It started with a $1 million donation from CareLinx, and our founder and CEO, Sherwin Sheik, and our team at CareLinx, once COVID hit, were really looking for a way to bring help and assistance to those that are most affected by COVID. And so we started the program with that $1 million donation and started out in just a few states. And we had a couple other partners that jumped in and added to our donation. Wounded Warrior Project added another $1 million, and as well as a few other organizations. And that allowed us to bring the program nationwide and to allow more of our families and caregivers to be able to apply for the program. So Laura, you were one of the applicants, and how did you hear about the program?
Well, I heard about it through the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. I'm a fellow for the state of Texas, and so when there are new programs coming online, the foundation always is very good about getting the fellows involved to get feedback on the different programs. And so when I heard about it, I was very excited. As you can see, Tom actually is a veteran that has ALS, and he is at a point in his progression where he has a trach and he's ventilator dependent. He's fully paralyzed at this point, so his care needs are quite high. And so anytime you hear about respite as a caregiver, be it a veteran caregiver or a non-veteran caregiver, you're like, wow, that is something I totally need. You mentioned that it was, you launched it in just a few states. Texas was one of them. Unfortunately, the first go around when I put my application in, it was not accepted because we were just outside the zip code. I live in the Austin area, but a suburb of Austin, and Austin was actually one of your first cities. So when the Wounded Warrior Project stepped in and assisted with the donation, that opened it up across the nation. And I was very excited at that point because I knew, I'm going to give it another shot. And I put my application in, which was very easy. For veterans, having your vet's DD 214 and their VA benefit letter is something that you keep with you. And so you just had to upload that, fill out the paperwork or the online application, and it was incredibly simple. That was, I think, the best part is you didn't have to put a lot of effort into it.
Oh, nice. And I just want to go back for a minute and just talk a little bit about yourself and Tom. Like you said, Tom is a veteran, and really want to just thank him for his service. Tom, we appreciate everything you've done. And thank you as well, Laura, for being right alongside Tom. You mentioned when we spoke yesterday, you were married for 31 years.
We've been married 30 years. We've been actually together 31 years.
So for all of those years, you stood by Tom in the service and out. Share with us a little bit about how you two met and Tom's experience in the service.
Yeah, well, Tom and I met before Tom actually went into the service. He was just a few months from going into basic. And so it was the summer of '89. And I like to tease. It was kind of like the movie Caddyshack. We both worked at a country club. He was a snack bar guy at a golf shop, and I was the lifeguard. And we met. I also tease it was love at first sight for him, but it was for both of us actually. Once we had our first date, which was towards the end of the summer, just a few months shy of him going into basic, we knew, there was nothing more. It was going to be us. And so at that point, we just had to figure out how we were going to make everything work, because I was in college and that was very important to me. And Tom joined the Air Force on his 21st birthday. And so we figured out how to make it work. And so we ended up married. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he ended up getting deployed to Guam, and you went along with him.
I did. His first duty station was Guam. Of course, he had put in for Texas and every place close to Texas so we could stay together. But, the dream sheet's not always a dream. So we ended up going to Guam, and I flew out after my semester ended of my sophomore year, promising my dad that, yes, I'm going to come back. And that didn't happen. We ended up eloping just a few months later. And it had a lot to do with Tom was he was going to go TDY as preparation for what was gearing up to be Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And I was not allowed to be on the island by myself. So we ended up just running to the JP, getting married, and the rest is history, 30 years later.
And I don't know, you can't see this, but Tom's grin that he has on.
I was just about to say.
Priceless. I love that. Tom, thank you so much for everything you've done for us, and Laura, you've obviously been standing by him. How so eventually you all found out that Tom had a diagnosis of ALS, and what was sort of going through your mind at that time?
Well, ALS is not something that, you think is going to happen to you, because it happens to other people. And we quickly found out we were other people. What started off as just a weakness in his left hand, the doctors thought it was carpal tunnel syndrome. We thought it was carpal tunnel syndrome, turned into that diagnosis of ALS. In fact, the diagnosis came when the doctor said, or asked the question, hey, by chance, were you in the military? And Tom's like, yes. And she's like, by chance, did you serve in the Gulf War? And he said, well, I did. I was there 6 months. I was over in Saudi for 6 months. And she said, well, I'm sorry to tell you that I'm about 99% sure. There's just a few tests I have to rule out, some things. But, sorry, this is going to be the diagnosis. And that has to do with that ALS actually strikes veterans at a higher rate than those that never served. And so that's why his diagnosis came after that question of your service. So it was a gut punch. Yeah. You never think that, we were in our mid to late 40s and we were gearing up to having our kid get out of high school and go to college and being empty nesters and finishing our careers and retiring together and fulfilling all those dreams we had. Mm-hmm. And they came to a screeching halt when you're told that you have 5 years to live. Tom is approaching his year 5 next March. And, had he not gotten his trait when he did in 2019, we would not have celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary. So, it's a hard disease, but as hard as it is, we still live a good life. We still make great memories. We're still, battling and advocating for veterans, with ALS. We spend time with our son. So, it's a horrible disease, but it doesn't mean we have to have a horrible life.
Right. And I really, speaking with you and getting to know you through this process, through the Respite Relief Program, I'm so inspired by, your story and Tom's story, and, your positivity and your energy is so bright and encouraging. And, just what you said a minute ago, that, just because it's a horrible diagnosis doesn't mean you have to have a horrible life. And it's hard am sure it's hard to see that all the time. And then this year brought along COVID-19.
Right, like ALS isn't hard enough. Let's go.
So all of that was not hard enough for you, Laura and Tom. We had to, 2020 brought along yet another element to this, and I'm sure that was really difficult to hear about that as well.
It was. I will say, from the standpoint of having to stay in the home and kind of sequester ourselves away from everybody, that ALS, that ALS helps you with that, because we can't go out anyway because they're at risk for catching the common cold or even the flu. So we've always had to be very careful of, who we're around. But what COVID did do to us is it really put a hurt in the supplies. Not only were people and us looking for, the normal things like the paper towels and whatnot, but those items that we use every day, like the Lysol wipes and like alcohol and alcohol pads, we use those every day to disinfect his equipment, and we couldn't get them. But the wonderfulness of the Elizabeth Dole Foundation is, she puts us all together, all the caregivers. And so we ended up having the ability to kind of share our resources. And so while it was difficult and there was some, scary moments on, will we have enough circuits, or, the tubing for his trach, or will we be able to get through this pandemic? My fellows came through and were able to help me out. And we were able to help other fellows out as well. And so, go ahead.
It was just a wonderful community, and the fact that you all were able to step up and help each other with those critical supplies. I know the rest of us were concerned with not having Lysol wipes or bleach wipes, but in cases like yours and Tom's, it's not just an inconvenience. It literally is a life and death situation when you don't have those items.
Yes.
So the other thing that we wanted to be able to offer to our respite relief families, and actually made this available to any of our CareLinx families, but we worked really hard to find a supplier and distributor for those items, such as gloves and disinfectant wipes and masks. And that's one of the things that we've been able to do, is send out a safer care package to our families as well. And
that was kind of one of those added bonuses. Not only was getting into the program easy, getting accepted, but once we were accepted into the respite program, our case coordinator contacted me immediately. Hi, Jay. We adore Jay. He's made this whole process very easy, but he was the one that told me that we would be getting a care package, PPE. And so that was actually, needed at the time. Gloves are hard to come by, and we utilize gloves all the time. So knowing that I wouldn't have to tap into our personal, sources of those, when a caregiver came into the home, that I would be able to say, okay, here's something that's kind of dedicated to you. Utilize this, was helpful, because I have to be careful of how much we're using our masks. And, my son is constantly trying to grab an extra mask. I'm like, dude, you've got reusable ones, use those. So having that PPE was a tremendous help.
And we're really grateful that, and just really, we worked really hard on finding those supplies ourselves. We thought, perhaps it might be easier because we're a healthcare provider, but it turns out if hospitals can't get them and are having a hard time, so did we. But we managed to get it together and get those out. And we're just really happy that we were able to get that out to folks. And so you talked about connecting with Jay. And also, getting your caregiver set up. So when you got that call from Jay that said, I'm calling to get you set up with services and a caregiver, for respite relief. What were your thoughts?
Well, I was kind of thinking, how much work am I going to have to do? Am I going to have to interview people? Because we've had to do that to have caregivers come into the home to help us under a VA sponsored program. And so I've done that where I've had to, put the job posting out. And I was under the assumption that would be part of what I did. But when Jay called and said, hey, welcome to the CareLinx family, he was able to tell me, I'll do the job posting for you. I will contact and screen all the caregivers, and we'll whittle them down, and I'll, keep you informed. He did make it very easy. I was laughing at how easy it was when every time I'd get a text or a phone call, I'd walk back in and go, okay, it's done. I didn't have to do anything. He's got it. Someone will be here on Sunday. And that's how easy it was for us. And as a caregiver, you tend to have control over many things. Like some people would probably say I'm a control freak now, but knowing and having someone take care of that for me was, wow, what a relief and what a weight off that was one less thing I'd have to worry about, but I would get a benefit. Yeah. So it was great. I really do appreciate how easy it was.
I'm really happy to hear that, Laura. And the other, aside from people having this misconception that it's going to be difficult, and sort of that fear that they're going to end up doing more work to benefit from this, one of the other things that we tend to hear is folks aren't really sure what to do with those hours and how to use them. And from speaking with you, I just love the simplicity of how you're using your hours and your caregiver. You told me yesterday this is for me.
Well, it is. In our situation, Tom's care is very high level. So I knew coming into this that the caregiver that I would receive would not be someone that I would have in here with Tom doing the suctioning or the trach care or anything like that. But it would be someone, for me, it's my respite. So this caregiver is here to help me. And so that's really what I asked our caregiver to do. The first one that came in is Tom is on a feeding tube. And so one of the things that we've done is we do a blended diet. So the caregiver came in and I was like, here's some things that need to get roasted. Here's some things that need to be steamed. When you're done, here's the blender, mix that up really fine and stick it in a jar for me. Mm-hmm. She did. 4 hours later, it was done. And and the kitchen was cleaned up for me. She even had time to unload some medical supplies that had come in. So I have her come in on Sundays because that's the day that I typically don't have anyone or any help. Mm-hmm. And so it just gives me a little bit of comfort knowing I've got just, for 4 hours, I've got an extra person in the home in case something happens. But what it also does is it allows me to start Monday not feeling like I'm already, 10 steps behind. Mm-hmm. So since getting the caregiver, I start Monday feeling like, okay, yeah, I can tackle this week. I've got things under control that typically would have taken me Monday and Tuesday to get on top of, and then maybe Wednesday, and then you wake up and it's Friday, and it's like, we're going to start the weekend again. So having the caregiver come in has freed up time, which time sometimes is what respite is. Respite's different for everybody. For me, respite is not having to spend 4 hours making, a meal, or just not having to spend the time in the kitchen or unloading the endless amount of medical equipment. It allows me just to sit and breathe. And for me, that's respite, is just being able to be in the moment and just take a breath. Mm-hmm.
I love that explanation. And you wrote in, which is how we originally met you. And that was one of the things that you talked about, is just being able to walk in the kitchen and not see a sink full of dishes, and having those types of organized and clean space to start your day. And I wanted others to hear how you're using your hours, because a lot of times I think as a caregiver you're sort of your baseline is just sort of overwhelmed, and it's hard to think about ways that you could use that time for yourself. I really appreciated how you described that scene of walking in your kitchen and not having dishes there.
Yeah, and that's the way I see it. It's like anything that I do that's, in addition to the hands-on care I give Tom, which is things like the meals and the making sure the supplies are checked and counted, and we go through a tremendous amount of like white towels, because it's easy to bleach. So anything that I would do for Tom is really what I'm asking the caregiver to do, just to free up that ancillary caregiving duty that I have. So there's never really a shortage of things to figure out to have the caregiver do. This past week, I asked them to actually take inventory of my medical supplies, and that was an easy task, but it took her 4 hours the entire time. And the thing is for me to do something like that, it would take me probably 6 or 7 hours, because I'm called in throughout the day to care for Tom. And so, we have a caregiver that sits with him and can help, but there are certain things that still needs 2 people, or that I do over a paid caregiver. So those duties, could typically take me all day to get through, if I even got through them.
Yeah.
But having them here just goes like that.
I'm so happy to hear that you are finding a lot of use and sort of peace of mind from having somebody do this. What would you say to other caregivers that you talked about, having this community of fellows and other caregivers who are part of the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, and even others, family members or friends that are taking care of loved ones who have served, that may be watching this and not necessarily part of the Elizabeth Dole community. What would you say to anyone out there that's sort of learning about this and considering it, and maybe on the fence about it? Like, should I apply? Is it hard? Does it take a lot of time for me to get this going?
Yeah, I think probably the answer is just say yes. Agree to have someone do stuff for you. That's been the hardest thing for us. Even now, we're almost 5 years into the diagnosis, is actually saying yes and accepting help. I think sometimes, I know for me, I'm sure it's the same for others, that if you need help, it means that, maybe you're not doing a good job, or you shouldn't need help. You should be able to do this on your own. And you can. This, taking care of someone that you love is, especially that needs a lot of care, whether it is, visible wounds or invisible wounds, anybody that just needs that extra person to watch them. You have to say yes. You have to kind of give up a little bit of control, but that's good. That frees you up. So just learn to say yes. Learn to accept the help as it comes, and just roll with it. You just have to learn to roll with it.
So just say yes. If anyone out there is watching and considering perhaps looking at that website and wondering, like, should I apply for this? Did you think about things? This, another thing that comes up for caregivers, I think, is feeling like you have to prepare a list of things that the caregiver should be doing during the visit. Is that something that you thought about ahead of time, or the caregiver came in and it was kind of like whatever you saw first, and went with that?
That was one of the things I did tell the caregiver when she was asking what she needs to do. And you have that mental list. If you don't have it mental, you got it written somewhere of those things that you need to do that always gets pushed to the bottom. And so that's how I approached it. And I did tell the caregiver, just look around. If you see something that looks like it should be taken care of, it probably needs to be taken care of. And I'm very open and honest with people that, I'm a caregiver to my husband, I'm also my husband's wife. So as we're dealing with the physical aspect of ALS, I'm also dealing with the emotional and, the mental part of dealing with a spouse that is terminal, and raising, our son and making sure that he has experiences and memories. So, the house is probably not always the way it should be, but at this point, I'm like, just, it is what it is. And so that's what I had told the caregiver that came in, is that if you see something, just take care of it. I'm really good. If it just gets cleaned or picked up, or you just make one pile from the multiple piles, sounds good to me.
Just that organization. And it is, and that's respite care, I think, is something that, not a lot of people really think about, or even, like you said, as a caregiver, you sort of feel like you shouldn't ask for that help, or you shouldn't need that help. And
you deserve the help, or you do deserve it. I think that's part of it too. I know for some programs, there's a lot of us, and I know I've done it personally, is like, no, I've got this, save it for someone that really needs it. But when you take a really hard look, you are the one that really needs it.
Yeah.
And so that's why accept the help.
Yeah. And everyone deserves it. And it's so important. You and I had a brief conversation yesterday as well about, sort of the overall health of the caregivers. And you spoke a little bit about, how the diagnosis of the ALS not only impacted Tom, but really you as well. And it was, the diagnosis wasn't just his diagnosis. It affected you as well.
It's our family. A caregiver that has actually become a mentor to me once, her husband has ALS as well. And she told me, on one of the calls of, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm exhausted. What can I do? She said, ALS, we know ALS is terminal and it will take Tom's life. But as a caregiver, I shouldn't allow ALS to take my life as well. And that's what happens to caregivers. We become so focused on our care recipient that we forget to take care of ourselves, from little things like going to the doctor, or taking time to take a breath, or monitoring our own, blood pressure, or whatever it is. We forget to do this. We forget to take care of our own mental health. Because we're so concerned about someone else's, and it's not selfish. That's a hard one to overcome, but it's not selfish to want to care for yourself as well. And so I'm on a journey to do better. I do fall into the I want to do whatever I can for my husband, but
Absolutely.
It's a journey. As caregivers, we have to learn to take care of ourselves, and it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen, it ebbs and flows, but as long as we can get more times that we take care of ourselves than we've done, I think we're doing pretty good.
And I love that it's that we are talking about respite care. I like that we're talking about the caregivers themselves, and sort of our traditional model of healthcare in this country is, we sort of focus on the disease process and trying to, focus on curative options and approaches. And a lot of times we fail to look at some of the non-medical interventions that just take care of the holistic person and the caregiver. And so I love the conversation about respite care and how important it is to the well-being of the caregiver who's in with their family member or their loved one, 24/7. And
yeah, the VA is actually starting to do a better job. Of course, I think everybody can agree there's a long way to go and they can do better, but they are starting to recognize that taking care of the caregiver actually helps the veteran. So if we're healthy and strong, we can keep our veteran healthy and strong. For us, that means keeping Tom out of the hospital and keeping him home where he belongs with his family. And so I do like that we kind of brought that up last night as we discussed this, that this is, I think, a goal for everybody, is to see, a diagnosis, not just for the patient, but for unit, the family unit, the caregiving unit, that the patient will do better if the caregiver is strong and can give better care.
And right, because you have the reserves to do that. Being able to. So I love the idea. You talked about going to your own doctor's appointment. So for veteran and military family caregivers that are out there that maybe haven't. It's almost the end of the year, so typically that's when we try to get in all of our annual checkups and all that kind of stuff. That's one way to go ahead and alleviate some of the pressure and allow some time for themselves to go do those wellness checkups or
Absolutely.
other healthcare visits that may need to happen. So I appreciate the fact that that you all you're so open and honest and candid in your conversations about your journey and where y'all are at. The other question that I had, we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, I talked about COVID impacting your family and sort of bringing on that added stress. Have you found that that it has impacted the home care or the caregivers that are coming in at all?
When things were first ramping up and we were picking up on it in February and in early March, because as caregivers we're vigilant about cold and flu and what is this happening. It absolutely impacted. We had to stop clinicians coming into the home, so no more physical therapy, which is very important to Tom to kind of maintain movement and so he doesn't have issues with being in bed, because at this point he is in bed most days. Mm-hmm. We had to stop his mother from coming in. We just limited everybody except for 2 caregivers that we have, and even that I was making sure they had masks and gloves and hand sanitizer, and was really don't go out, go home. If you need anything, we will supply it to you. I'll get you your groceries. We'll Instacart, or have a delivery service come in. And they've been very good about being careful. Mm-hmm. But, I think when you bring anybody into your home, especially with us, with what's going on, it's a very intimate thing. And so they become part of your family. And so, I call them girls. They're younger than us, but there are girls, there are family. And so they love Tom just as much as we love them. And so they want to do their part to keep Tom safe. But, we've had to stop that. And only recently, because of Tom's needs, we've had to have, a physical therapist come in and someone to help with his respiratory care. So yeah, COVID has stopped us from probably getting the care that we typically would have gotten. And it just puts more on me and the other caregivers to ensure Tom, his needs are being met.
Absolutely. I do, I appreciate how difficult that has to be. Like, it just feels like your routine is sort of upended and it's sort of out of your control at that point. And I'm really happy that we were able to find somebody that could fit into the routine and into that family unit that you've created and to be able to help you out. And we do have, our caregivers, we do require them to do a temperature check and, report on any symptoms that they may have. And I'm sure, we're all getting wiser and better at this as we go along. And it's really important to just keep note of that.
Yeah, and we haven't had any issues. One of the things we have done with the caregivers is we do keep them from Tom, which is fine because again they're here for me, not him. So So that's been the easy part. But, they still are out in the main part of our home. We have a son that, is around. So we do just kind of make sure that our son is aware and realizes, if don't get up and, very close, let's just still take precautions in the home. You just can't be, too careful. You have to still be vigilant about it.
Right. So there's we had a couple questions that came in that Jack fielded, and I see that one of the questions is, how do I apply? And once I submit the application, then what can I expect? How do I hear back about a decision?
So you can go on the foundation's website, and I know we could provide that for everybody. And so there's just a link. You just kind of click in it. You upload the Veterans DD 214 and the VA letter that talks about their disability rating, and just fill out some information. It's really just about you. What kind of care do you provide? I believe there was some information about ADLs, activities of daily living, that are needed. And that's it. It goes pretty quick. I think it took maybe a week for me to hear back. And when I got the email saying that we were accepted, that came in the morning. And by that afternoon, Jay was already calling me up on the phone, chatting me up about what my needs were. So it happened fairly quickly. And then your case manager or coordinator, they set everything up for you. Again, they make it really easy. And so my suggestion is if you need help or you're on the fence about it, just say yes. Go to the website, go to the foundation's website, fill it out, and let's see, get some help in there. Especially now with the holidays, who doesn't need a little extra help? Or, maybe someone that can sit with your veteran if that's what you need while you go and actually drink your coffee hot. That's something caregivers don't always get to do. You make the coffee, but, it's 8 o'clock at night when you find out that, oh, wait a minute, that's my cup of coffee.
I forgot to drink it.
Yeah.
That's such great advice. I just, it's simple. I think, we tend to overthink things and overcomplicate them and how we want to use this. And, again, I love the simplicity of the examples that you have. So clean dishes, hot coffee.
Yeah.
And organizing. Who could?
And so I just want to clarify, it's hiddenheroes.org/respite. Austin just said I see the message. So I wanted to make sure everybody has the right one. And so hiddenheroes.org/respite. You can also just go into a search engine and type out Hidden Heroes Respite, and it will take you directly to the website.
There's also, you can get to that as well through CareLinx website. It's carelinx.com/hidden heroes. Jack, if you want to put that up there. So there's a number of different ways, but certainly we wanted to make it as easy as possible. We didn't want it to be yet another chore you have to do. You have enough. So we thought about it and got input from folks to try to make it as easy as possible. So
yeah, I think the hardest part is if you don't know where the paperwork is, that's going to be your hardest part, is like tracking down that DD 214. But once you have that, it is super simple, and the benefit is tremendous. It really is. It truly is life-saving. I do night care for my husband as well as day. So I'm exhausted most days. So being able just to kind of take a break on those Mondays, that is that rest that I need to kind of recoup from the weekends.
Yeah, absolutely. And another question was that came up is how will Elizabeth Dole Foundation choose who receives the service? And just wanted to point out that the Respite and Relief Review Committee consists of military and veteran spouses and family members, as well as the caregivers themselves. The Respite Relief Review Committee reviews all the applications on a rolling basis. So they review them as they come in, and give preference to those who meet eligibility. So the requirements that they're looking at is basically, those who have been impacted by COVID. So anybody whose situation has been interrupted. You gave some great examples of ways that your routine and your healthcare for Tom had been interrupted as a result of COVID, and so that's one of the things they consider. They're also considering, whether or not a family is it being impacted as a result of a loss of normal respite assistance. So if you had a care program, whether it was like adult day health or some other type of care that was coming in that can no longer happen as a result of COVID, that's another way that they're considering who gets these respite care hours. And of course, anyone that's been impacted by loss of a job, or loss of access to services in your area. And of course, anyone who, as a result of the added stress of this pandemic, is suffering from extra stress and missing those regular medical appointments or other appointments because they are unable to step away from their loved one and take that break for themselves. So the Respite Relief Review Committee does look at each and every application, and they will they go through them as quickly as they can, and then we'll forward those approved families onto CareLinx for us to take the reins from there and move you all forward into getting the care you need. Anything else that sort of occurs to you that we haven't covered that you want to speak on with regard to your experience as a caregiver?
I think we've covered quite a bit. I think that just kind of to reiterate what we've been saying, it's just say yes. We all think to ourselves, I wish there was this program. Here's the program. Just fill out the paperwork and go. And recognizing that, this may be in conjunction with another type of program that you get through the VA or other, nonprofits that are out there that provide it. This can help you. It's not a one-or situation. And so I think people need to realize that and not think to themselves, well, I get this from the VA. That has been one thing that has come up is, well, I'm already in this program with the VA. Well, this is separate from the VA, but it is still a program the VA is aware of and is for. So you can have multiple programs and still qualify for this one.
That's actually a really good point. There are caregiver programs through the VA that are available, and families are benefiting from those programs, and that is really important to note that if you are currently receiving that benefit from the VA, it does not mean that you won't qualify for this. You can have this as well. So again, it's through that application process through Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Well, thank you again so much for your time. I know, again, the holidays are upon us. We saw Tom wearing his Christmas gown yesterday. Do you all have any particular plans for the holidays and the new year?
We're just gonna, celebrate it how we celebrate every day. We're just with our family. Our son, is a senior in high school and he's virtual. So it's not like, things have changed much. Mm-hmm. So we're just gonna enjoy each other. We're kind of hopeful that Tom will get in his wheelchair and and we can kind of celebrate and bring in Christmas together, by the tree, opening presents. So that's what we're doing. We're just going to keep it small, and but that's how you make your memories too. Every memory counts, and for us, it's those memories that helps us get through the tough times.
Absolutely.
So I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and safe holidays, as well as you and Jack.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Laura.
wish you the best of holidays. Tom, it was great having you on. And again, thank you so much for everything that you've done for us. And if this year has taught us nothing, it should have taught us that it is those small moments that we create together. And Laura, thank you so much for allowing us at CareLinx to come in and be a part of your family, and for sharing your story, not just with us, but with other caregivers out there. You've been such an inspiration, and we've enjoyed getting to know you.
I'm happy to be part of now the CareLinx family. So
I love it.
So thank you for letting me talk about this. It's anytime we can get information like this out to other caregivers who sometimes may feel isolated or not aware of different programs, I think we're moving the ball forward for everybody. So I really appreciate you guys asking Tom and I to talk about this.
Absolutely. This is just such an important part of advocating for programs like this to continue forward.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and to a better 2021 ahead.
Absolutely. Bye-bye 2020.
Not sad.
All right. All right, Laura, thank you so much again. And Karina, thank you too. And I hope, like you said, hope you guys have a great holiday and a happy new year.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jack.
guys. All right. It's awesome. Thank you, everyone, again, who attended today. It is really awesome. And it's really great to see the work being done by the Elizabeth Dole Foundation with their Respite Relief Program. It is amazing. Feel free to click down below into the call to action button where we have that link, hyperlinked, where you can view the site, hiddenheroes.org/respite again. Feel free to take a look. And really huge shout out to Austin and the Elizabeth Dole Foundation for all of their support throughout all of this. It's been amazing working together and seeing the amazing impact with our military and veteran family caregivers all across the United States. And looking forward to keeping it going in 2021. But on that note, I would like to thank everybody again for coming. And we are looking forward to having our episode 3 coming up soon. But for now, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. And hope you all stay safe, happy, healthy, and all the above. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great one.